Okay, today we are going to be using 1-point perspective to draw a hallway. 1-point perspective is a great way to make things look more three-dimensional or realistic. And to use it, you need a pencil, a piece of paper, a straight edge, very important. I'm using a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you could use kind of anything straight, like even a book, I guess the side of a book in a pinch, as long as it goes across your whole page. And an eraser, also super important because we're doing a lot of erasing in this project. The first thing I'm going to do is draw a line from one corner of my paper to the other. I'm going to take a minute to line up that straight edge. Then whenever we're using our straight edge, you're going to want to brace it with your non-dominant hand, not the hand holding the pencil. And lightly draw a line. I say lightly because for a lot of these lines, we're going to end up erasing them. Not all of them, but a lot of them, or erasing them just in certain parts. And if you've really made a dark mark, it's going to be quite hard to erase. The next thing I'm going to do is do the same thing on the other side. You'll probably notice that when I'm doing this project, we're going to be, things will be looking really symmetrical, which means they'll look the same on one side as the other. So now I have this sort of light X in the middle. Then, through this, I'm going to draw a line that we won't really end up using too much in this, but if you ever do like a landscape or an outdoor like picture with architecture in it, especially, you'd be using this line a lot. This line through the center is called the horizon line. The horizon is basically where the ground meets the sky, like where the ground stops and the sky starts, and that's called the horizon. And even though we won't really be using it, it is, I think, a good term to get to know when you're using 1-point perspective, because the horizon line sometimes can be at different parts on your page. It can be lower, it can be higher, depending on how much of the sky you want to see and how much of the ground you want to see. Now, the last thing I'm going to add right now is this little dot in the middle, and this is our vanishing point. If you were to stand in the middle of a street and watch a car driving away from you, and it was a really straight street that went on for a long time, the car would seem to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it seems to like just disappear. Of course, the car doesn't get smaller, and it doesn't really disappear. It just looks like it disappears, or it looks like it vanishes, vanishing point. But it's just because your human eye can't see it. So the vanishing point is basically the point that you're putting on your paper, and it means as things move towards it, it looks like things are getting smaller and smaller until ultimately they appear to vanish. And it's called the vanishing point, and there it is. So the next thing we're going to do for a hallway is we're going to draw the part that is furthest away. So for us, we're going to be drawing a straight hallway. I'm going to be using my vanishing point here not my vanishing point, my horizon line here to line up my ruler. And then once my ruler or your straight edge is like just a little bit above that horizon line, I'm going to draw a line from this diagonal line to this diagonal line right across the top. Now, if you were using a book or something, you wouldn't be able to do what I just did. So I basically made a line the width of a ruler up to here. You just have to use the side of your whatever it is and then move it up. But you basically want a straight line from here to here, parallel with my horizon line. And like I said, I wasn't going to use this horizon line very frequently, and I'm really not, but I am going to do the same thing, so I'm going to line it up with that line right there, and I'm going to draw another line from this to this, these two lines, right between the two, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and straight, otherwise your perspective looks really off. And then from this point down to this point, I'm going to draw another line, and like I said, still keep your lines really light. So I did it on this side, I'm now going to do it on this side as well. There we go. So this is going to be the end of our hallway. Now, at the end of our hallway, I'm going to put a door And I'm just going to use my ruler. I'm going to kind of position it in the middle and use this as kind of an easy way to make a door at the end of my hallway. Or actually, you know what, I'll make it like 2 sets of doors. I will say at our school, if you were to look down the hallway, there is, oh, see, look, I made a mistake. It's not dead center. I'm going to go back and erase it. When you look down the hallway at our school, there's 2 sets of doors. Actually, from where I am, it looks like 2 sets of doors leading to like the kindergarten room, or the kindergarten rooms. There you go. So this is, as the end of the hallway, it's going to be the furthest point away. Now, what we've done here with these diagonal lines is made what is ultimately going to be our ceiling and our 2 walls and our floor. Now, if this is looking kind of confusing to you, if you need something to help you kind of visualize what this is going to end up looking like, I'm just going to drop in a shade right here. You can do this or not. I just think this helps for some kids that are probably looking at this right now and thinking that this doesn't look like much of anything. There we go. And that's obviously a pretty messy job I just did with my pencil. But when I'm all done with this, I'll go in and I'll do like proper value changes, which means making things very dark or very light or gray in between to make the picture look more dynamic, and I'll be a little bit neater about it, but this is how I will leave it for right now. The next thing I'm going to do is the walls. On our walls, we have lockers. The lockers don't go all the way to the ceiling, but they do come up pretty high, and I'm going to use this vanishing point again. So part of my straight edge or my ruler is going to be on that vanishing point, and I'm going to kind of move this side of it up till I think it's about as high up as the lockers go. And then I'm going to draw a line that is going to be the top of our lockers. So touching the vanishing point, kind of at a diagonal to the top. These are going to be the top of my lockers, and that's going to be where the ceiling starts after that. I'm actually going to erase my horizon line here because I'm going to be drawing lockers on this wall and I don't need it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be drawing lockers going along this wall. Now, because as things move towards that vanishing point, they appear to get smaller, the lockers that I draw closer over here are going to be really quite thin. And as they move towards the edge of the page, they're going to get a little bit wider. They're going to look like they're getting bigger. So I'll make this space between where that line is and where my ruler is moving to a little bit bigger. Now you're noticing probably as I'm doing this, I'm keeping my ruler really straight. I'm keeping it parallel to this, like edge of this wall. You don't want it to be all wonky because the lockers are straight up and down. You don't see lockers that are hanging crookedly on the wall. And we want this to look realistic, or as realistic as we can make it. So there we go. You can see the lockers, they're getting wider as they move away. Now, on our lockers, they have these kind of 3 slits in the top, and I'm going to use my vanishing point to make those as well. I'm going to make sure they're in the correct point. So I'm going to put my straight edge on the vanishing point, and I'm going to draw little lines on the top of the lockers that are going to look like those 3 little slats or 3 little slits. And then when I'm going to do 3, so I'm going to still keep this straight edge on the vanishing point and move this down a little bit. And then still keeping this on the vanishing point, so this can move up and down, but this part kind of stays like nailed to that vanishing point. And I'm going to do the 3rd set of slits in those lockers. Now we can add locker handles and things like that too. There you go. And our lockers kind of curve, these little slats kind of curve up on the sides. So once you're done drawing those slits, you can go back in and kind of make these appear to curve up. So it looks a little bit more realistic. If you went a little bit too far like I did to the edge, I'm going to go in and probably like erase some of them that are too close to the edge. And then just add the little curve right there. All right. And I'll continue to do that on these two so that they're the same. Now we did this on this side, and as I said, you can go back in and add like handles to the lockers if you want. You can think about what other things you might want to add. And if we did it to this side, we have lockers on the other side here at Alice Smith, so I'm going to do the same thing over here, but to do that, it's just going to be the opposite reflection. So I'm going to align my straight edge with that vanishing point. Then I'm going to try to make it as symmetrical as I can to this side. And I'm going to draw a line up there. This will be the top of my locker. I will erase my horizon line because I don't need it. And then I'll end up putting lockers the same way I did over here, and the slits the same way I did over here. So you'll keep it on the vanishing point and just add those slits. And to make the lockers, we'll hold this straight edge parallel to this edge, which means straight, and then kind of make things bigger as they go out. The ceiling is a lot of fun too. We're going to be using that vanishing point again. I'm going to align my straight edge with that vanishing point, and I'm going to draw a line straight up. We have these tiled ceilings here at Alice Smith. So I'm going to make the tiles on the ceilings, keep it on that vanishing point, and then kind of rotate or fan this top part out. So then we're going to have these tiles. I'm going to do the same thing here. So on this side, I'm going to keep it on that vanishing point and kind of angle it out. And every time I turn it, double check it to make sure you don't need to like kind of make sure again, like re-straighten your ruler, make sure that it's touching that vanishing point. Because sometimes when you're doing this, it'll slide around a little bit on you. Until it looks right. Then to make the tiles, we are going to hold the straight edge parallel to the top of the end of the hallway, that ceiling, and draw a line like that. And again, similar to what we did with the lockers, we're going to make those tiles that are further closest to the faraway point smaller, and then as I move out, I'm going to make those tiles appear to get larger, even though we all know those tiles are the same size. So it looks like they're kind of coming towards you. All right, for the floor, I think you could do something similar if you wanted to do that and then do like black and white, make like a checkerboard effect, or you could just make this, you know, one color cutting depending on what you want to do. You could also add pictures or signs down here if you wanted to. You could put little windows in your doors, add your door handles, add some like posters or things up there if you wanted to. But this is basically how you use one-point perspective to draw a hallway. Hopefully it'll make sense when you're practicing it. Just remember to be patient with yourself. Make sure that if you make a mistake, if that straight edge slides around on you, go ahead, don't be afraid to erase and start over again. And I think it'll turn out really great. All right, have fun.